Welcome back. As the world observes Global Climate Change Week, this year the spotlight is not only on how we can all contribute to taking the world to a sustainable, resilient and zero-carbon future, but also on the issue of ecophobia. A 2021 survey by UK's University of Bath and other schools found that almost 60% of youth were either very or extremely worried about climate change. For more on this topic, we're now joined via Zoom by Green School South Africa's Celri Olley. Celri, a very good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
One may be wondering, what in the world is ecophobia?
Well, ecophobia is a feeling of absolute overwhelm and helplessness when you think about the future and the climate and where things are going. There's so much information coming in, and not all of it is always positive. So there's this feeling that what on earth can you do, and what is your future going to look like? And this is something that we dominantly with our younger children these days.
And ecophobia is said to be an increasingly common phenomenon among children. Why is this, though?
Well, I don't think children always understand how to contextualize all the information that they have to deal with. They see all these storms on TV and they hear that this was the hottest year yet, and that happens every year. And then you have children that have to start thinking about their futures and what they are going to be and what life is going to be like. And if they don't have the tools and the skill sets to think about this in context and from an empowered place, it can be so overwhelming and even cause depression.
Speak to us more about the 2021 survey that found that almost 60% of the country's youth were either very or extremely worried about climate change, yeah?
Yeah, that survey was actually quite interesting because it was 10,000 individuals in different countries that they were looking at in their study in Bath. And it's that children are becoming more aware of what is going on around them in the world. And they are starting to focus more on what the damage is that's being caused and what the impact on their own lives will be. And there's the sense of, if I have to now choose to look at my future in the community that I live in or in the work that I'm going to do one day, what can I do? I'm just one person. I can't possibly change this cataclysmic nature, and it's really, really concerning.
Now, let's now talk about some of the ways that can actually help children cope with ecophobia.
Yes, at Green School, we believe that you need to introduce these concepts at an age-appropriate level. And before you can introduce anything to anyone about protecting nature or protecting the world or trying to make a change, you really have to cultivate that reconnection with nature and find the joy in being in nature. So when we get to kindy, our littlies are introduced to the wonder of nature around them. They're immersed in nature, and then they feel, I really, really love what I'm seeing and I want to keep it going.
Yeah.
As we grow older, So that's where we start with kindy. In primary, we really look at bringing a bit of geographical context in. So I love nature where I am now at school, but where is school? Where are we? And what does it look like around us? What can we do to make the things around us carry on living? Always this focus on a hopeful forward thinking. When we get middle, we really look at bringing in that inquiry-based, project-based approach where children are now starting to formulate questions to actually start diving into what are the things that are going on and what is climate change really. It's a natural process, yes, but we've accelerated it. And how can we make sure that we manage that? It's not something we can stop, and that's okay. And it's okay to feel anxious about it because it's a relevant feeling. It's a valid but don't get stuck there because you are empowered to do so. And with that foundation, by the time we get to high school, we actually have high school children who can start thinking about how can I solve problems? So instead of what am I going to be one day, because I'm already a human being, that's all I need to be, is what problems am I going to solve? And that opens so many doors. And you get a much more positive, joyful interaction with where you are going instead of this pessimistic, unempowered situation that you find in. So children's voices are really important in strengthening them.
And I suppose that's where Green School SA has come in. And let's now talk about how you've used the stepping stones laid out in David Sobel's Beyond Ecophobia to assist with this phenomenon.
Yeah, so for the littlies, for example, at an age-appropriate level, we'll do things like how to take care of the things in your classroom so that we don't have to buy new ones, because new ones are made and that process puts pressure on our system.
Yes.
And for example, switching off a light when you leave the room, little things that children can do. And this makes that, they understand that I can do something, even though I'm still small. I can do something meaningful. Yeah, and by the time you get to, for example, the other end of it, when you get to high school, switching off a light is then a habit, and looking after is a habit. So you're continually trying to create habits for these children to think in, because, I mean, that is where our power lies. Children often feel that they are sort of still growing up and not really part of community, and they can't really contribute anything. But if you give them that empowerment and that voice to understand that, hey, I am actually doing something and I am making a difference already, and that kind of mindset that you entrench becomes the problem solvers. Yeah.
Now speak to us about how other schools can then adopt this narrative to tackle the issue of ecophobia.
Oh, that's the wonderful thing. You don't have to be an eco school to do this. Everybody should. So, like I said, from talking to your children about the feelings that they're feeling, that's really important, is actually finding out where they are emotionally so that you can have a sense of where to start. So that's probably the first thing that you do, is sort of a baseline of where can I start with my children? What do they understand?
Right.
What do they want to understand? And then from there on, start working around things like, what about nature do you love and enjoy? And go and find that connection. That's really important. And spend time with your children in nature and also model that. And it's not just about recycling and just about not littering. It's about why you are recycling and why you are not littering. So in schools, you can start little programs where you just look at the classroom environment. Use only what you need, and what you need needs to be looked after, and make sure that you can use it to its full potential and make different choices. Start being a bit more conscious about the choices that you make. And all those things come with practice. You won't fix it in a day. This is a long-term process where you are actually going to guide children into habits of thinking about nature and being in nature.
All right.
So that is important.
Celri, lovely chatting to you, and I quite like the point that you've made, that you need to be conscious about, the actions that we take, because it will affect our future. Lovely chatting to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Great stuff. That's Green School SA Celri Olley, and we've been in conversation with her about all things ecophobia, as well as the observation of Global Climate Change Week.